Republicans just told Donald Trump to go pound sand yet again as the party is completely falling apart. Now, this was in Indiana, where Donald Trump asked the Republicans in the state to redistrict so the House could pick up a couple extra seats in the 2026 midterms. Well, the Republicans there said no, they don't have enough votes, they're not doing it. And Donald Trump has responded, saying that he will be strongly endorsing against any state senator or House member from Indiana that votes against the Republican Party and our nation by not allowing redistricting. Donald Trump is not just declaring civil war and splintering MAGA, he is now doing it against the whole of the Republican Party. This party is falling apart because they decided to let Donald Trump lead them, thinking that he would help them, not thinking that he would just completely take over. And again, I implore Democrats, do not get involved in this. Let this forest fire burn. Focus on the people. Focus on your plan to help the people and how you are going to make their lives better. And let the Republicans self-destruct and we take back the House, maybe the Senate.
Well, the MAGA falling away has begun. And the only question is how long is it going to take for the vast majority of the Republican Party to turn on Donald Trump? And how long is it going to take for most of his goddamn supporters to realize he's nothing but a fraud and for them to turn away too? You see, because the Republican Party, the senators and the congressmen, the representatives, they goddamn know that they're going to prison. Everybody knows it. They can't run and they can't hide from what's coming their way, because you can't be a part of one of the most corrupt administrations in the history of the United States and not expect there to be consequences. And there will be consequences when the next administration takes over and the people are sick of Donald Trump and his family of just ripping away every ounce of wealth from the American people. That day of reckoning will come. You see, and the Republicans, the politicians, they know it. They know it's coming. They know it's going to happen. Just like in his first administration, how many people that were involved in the Trump administration back in the 2016 presidential cycle went to prison? They know the shit's going to hit the fan, and they don't want to be close to this bomb when it goes off. Now it's just a matter of time to find out how long is it going to take, because we're already seeing the infighting in the MAGA crowd, and we are already seeing the beginnings of the self-implosion that is going to happen. Like, share, follow for more. This is Grim with Get the Rant, and I'll see you all in the next video.
It's a smokescreen. The Department of Justice is not going to release the Epstein files. I'm a lawyer in real life. I don't play one on television. Those are not my words. Those are the words of one of the top Republicans who has been pushing for the release of the Department of Justice Epstein files.
And I have another concern about these investigations that he's announced. If they have ongoing investigations in certain areas, those documents can't be released. So this might be a big smokescreen, these investigations, to open a bunch of them as a last-ditch effort to prevent the release of the Epstein files.
Yesterday, Trump says he's urging the Republicans in Congress to vote in favor of the Department of Justice releasing the files. But what he did earlier in the week to order Pam Bondi to investigate Bill Clinton and other top Democrats means that the files can't be released. If there is an active investigation taking place, then those files are needed for that active criminal investigation, and they are not going to be released. And that is going to be their excuse. So I don't believe Donald Trump really wants the Epstein files to be released. This is just another part of his attempt to prevent the American people from seeing all of the information about Jeffrey Epstein, because there's a lot we have not seen. We have not seen videos. We have not understood the money and how the money was flowing in the whole Epstein scandal. So y'all let me know what you think. Is it a smokescreen? Is he trying to give us the okie doke? Let me know what you think in the comments.
People are going to go to jail in this Trump administration. I think they are starting to realize that. The question is, who is going to turn first? Who is going to go and flip on everyone else? It's just a matter of time now. Trump is flailing about. He's now telling Republicans to vote to release the Epstein files. He's posting about FBI agents being placed in the crowd on January 6th again. And we know now that Turning Point USA had funneled massive amounts of money to the event on January 6th through their dark money group, Turning Point Action, and then afterwards profited from people's hate, from people's division. We are learning that Lisa Murkowski is going to vote yes to release the files in the Senate. So Republicans are turning and starting to vote yes on that, or at least saying they will. Murkowski was a no on the prior vote. His attempted cover-up of the Epstein files has failed. Then we have the cover-up of Trump's major health condition and the many scandals and acts of corruption that have happened week after week since he's been in office. And we haven't even learned about all the backdoor deals he's done yet with foreign countries. Then we have these drug boat strikes in the Caribbean, which are highly questionable as to whether they are legal or not. In fact, we've learned that military personnel are seeking outside counsel to determine whether their conduct is within the law or not. Trump is preparing to illegally start a war with Venezuela. Trump's lies are no longer working on people. He's turned on Marjorie Taylor Greene. So yeah, people are going to go to jail. So the question is, who is going to flip on the group first? Let me know who you think in the comments. Like, share, spread the word, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you back here for the 411.
Of course the media is going along with this. Did we expect anything different? So Trump comes out and says that he wants the House to vote to release the Epstein files, and the media reports it as a major shift. Donald Trump now supports releasing the Epstein files. Are they really this stupid, or do they just think that the rest of us are? Donald Trump doesn't want to release the Epstein files, and he's not going to. This isn't a shift in his position. This is a shift in his PR strategy. He saw that the House was going to vote to release the Epstein files, and he couldn't stop it. I mean, he tried everything he could, including shutting the government down to prevent them from voting on releasing the Epstein files. That's why we had a government shutdown, because it gave Grinder Mike Johnson an excuse for not swearing in Congresswoman Grijalva. But then Democrats screwed up Trump's plans and cut a deal, so the government was going to reopen, and Grinder Mike had to swear her in. So she's the 218th vote on the discharge petition, which forces a vote in the House on releasing the Epstein files. And then Trump did everything he could to try to prevent Republicans from voting for it. He called Nancy Mason to the White House to pressure her. She wouldn't cave. He tried to make an example of Marjorie Taylor Greene, calling her a traitor, trying to destroy her, as a signal to the rest of the Republican Party, don't you dare vote for this. When that didn't work, and it looks like there's going to be tons of Republicans voting to release the Epstein files, he had to change strategy. So now he comes out and says, yeah, well, they should release the Epstein files. But that doesn't mean they're going to be released. First of all, this is just the House. The Senate would have to vote on this too. And there was Senator Barrasso over the weekend was on the Sunday show saying, yeah, we're not voting for, we're not even going to hold a vote. So the Senate's not going to even vote on it. And if they do, they need 60 votes. They'll just filibuster it and it'll never pass the Senate. And then even if it does pass the Senate, Donald Trump still has to release the files, which he's not going to do. He just ordered an investigation. Pam Bondi appointed a prosecutor to start an investigation so that they would have an excuse to not release the files. They're going to say, well, we'd love to release these files, but we got this ongoing investigation, so we can't release anything. Nothing is going to be released. This is just a PR strategy to deal with the fallout of the House voting for releasing the Epstein files. But Trump hasn't changed. He's in those friggin' files. Why do you think he's been trying so hard to cover it up?
So Donald Trump came out and did a Truth Social and said, everybody should sign the discharge. Republicans, everybody should sign the discharge. I have nothing to hide. We have nothing to hide. It's all the Democrats. Let's find out about, all of their garbage. So sign the discharge. He had to do that. He had to do that. This is a guy who lives for being in charge. He's a narcissist. He lives for being in charge. And he was not in charge of what was happening, this escalating avalanche of evidence coming out against him, he was not in charge. That's why he disappeared. He froze. It's called the blue state. He froze. He didn't know what to do. Trying to talk to people, trying to intimidate people, he was frozen. And this is the only way he can get back to controlling the narrative somewhat, saying, yeah, everybody should vote for it. I have nothing to hide. And I hope you don't remember the last 10 months when all I did was hide this shit and had my DOJ and FBI hide it from you in the most obvious manner possible. I hope you don't remember that. But yeah, everybody should sign it. And then what this will do for him is this allows him to feed into whatever comes out, the pictures, the videos, all of those things, for him to say, it's a hoax. I never would have wanted them to sign it if I was in there. Only an innocent man would say, go sign it in the discharge. And that allows him to open up the hoax box again, which he's good at. And some of his cult will believe him. And they won't remember the last 10 months when he did everything he could to obstruct justice and prevent those files from coming out and tell America to move on. So he had to do that. That was one of his only plays left to help stiff arm with his base just a little bit, if he could, is this whole go ahead and sign the discharge thing. He's really fucked. He really is. So when everything comes out, I think they vote tomorrow. You're going to see a ton of Republicans vote for it because they're trying to save their ass, and they were going to vote for it anyways. It was like 150 had already said that they were going to vote for the discharge before Trump said that. So he saw the writing on the wall, didn't have control. And so he had to get behind it and push to help stiff arm it for a little bit. And now you're going to see maybe all of them vote for it, for the discharge. And then it'll go to Senate, and then it'll be on the Senate's lap, where a couple of people have said, I don't even know if we'll bring it to a vote. Well, then that's all on them coming up in 2026 and 2028. He's nuclear. Everybody's going to want to get away from him as fast as humanly possible. And then you're going to start to see people flipping. And I don't know who's going to be first. I did a little survey, and a lot of people think Bongino, which is a fair guess. He is a fair guess. He's been super quiet. He may be the one, but somebody's going to flip, and then that's going to open the door to all the other flipping. So yeah, it's going to get spicy for sure. There's a lot of stuff to come out. Vance is going to be really quiet about this, but he's in on it too, and we'll see how that gets rolled into it, especially when we get into the decision making for FBI and DOJ, who told who to do what or not to do, as far as releasing files and information, who told who to redact things, all of that stuff. Blanche and the Maxwell interviews and getting her the prima donna treatment in prison. Yeah, but Trump had to tell everybody to go sign it. And it proves I'm innocent because I have nothing to hide. That was his only play right now after the Republicans started to run from him and said, we're going to sign it because we don't want to be near you right now. We're nuclear. And they're just trying to save their asses for 26. So put your foot on the gas, and don't forget, because they did everything they could, including these House Republicans are about to vote for it. They did everything they could to hide this shit. In previous votes, right? They did everything they could to hide this shit. Mike Johnson, all of them. So remember this in 26. Yeah, he had to. It was his only play.
Well, happy Monday morning, everybody. It's about 6 a.m. West Coast time. This is the week that it finally starts to unravel. Late last night, Sunday evening, Donald Trump posted to Truth Social that Republicans in the House and the Senate should vote in support of the discharge petition compelling the Department of Justice to release the Epstein files, after he spent the entirety of this past year trying to prevent that from happening. And he didn't have some internal epiphany, but what he did have is a bit of a come to Jesus moment I'm sure with Mike Johnson and Steve Scalise and other Republicans in the House. And I'm sure that they have informed him that when this bill comes up for a vote of the full House on Tuesday, tomorrow, that as many as 100 or 150 Republican members of the House are going to break with him, and they are going to vote in support of the discharge petition. They're going to vote in support of compelling Pam Bondi and Kash Patel to release the Epstein files to the public. Now, this isn't a circumstance like we've seen in the past, where there have been such tight margins in the House that when a bill is not going to go Donald Trump's way, he has to call 3 or maybe 4 Republicans. This is going to be 100 or 150 members of his own party voting in support of ending the government's cover-up for Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirators. And it's not hard to understand why these members are flipping. You know, and I can just envision individual conversations. They'll be like, look, I voted for your big, beautiful bill. You know, we're taking away health care from tens of millions of Americans. I was on board with you during the government shutdown and ending the Obamacare subsidies and withholding SNAP benefits from 41 million Americans and 14 million children. But voting to conceal the Epstein files is a bridge too far. I can't go back to my home district and spend the next year leading up to the midterms trying to explain to my constituents why I voted against releasing information on the largest pedophile ring that this country has ever seen. There is no justification to vote against doing that. And I don't want to face a primary going into the midterms. I don't want to have a Democratic opponent who just runs endless television ads saying that I support pedophiles. That's too much. Plus, it has the added benefit of being the right thing to do, which I know is anathema to most Republicans, but in this case, it's actually the right thing to do. And, you know, during Donald Trump's first term, during the 2016 campaign, first it was Pizzagate. The perpetrators were Democrats. That was Hillary Clinton. Then after Donald Trump got elected, towards the end of his first year was when the whole QAnon thing started. These cryptic posts about a left-wing cabal of child sex traffickers that was all Democrats and Democrat donors and lefty Hollywood types and lefty billionaires. Again, the right group of perps. And Donald Trump was built up into this figure by his base as he's the one who's gonna bring it down. He's the one who's gonna expose everything. Well, Pizzagate was bullshit. QAnon was bullshit. Jeffrey Epstein is real. There are survivors. There are human beings who survived that monster and his friends, and they have been speaking out. They are real. They are real. And Jeffrey Epstein was Donald Trump's best friend for 15 years. Countless photos and videos of them together. And there are still some in his base that are like, well, he's the one who's going to bring it down, but yet he's been demanding for months that this information not be released. Jeffrey Epstein was real. His survivors are real. They are real human beings. And even Mike Johnson, who recessed the House early for their August recess so that they wouldn't have to hold a vote on the discharge petition, and then recessed the House entirely for almost 2 months before and during the government shutdown so that he wouldn't have to hold a vote on this discharge petition. Mike Johnson tried as hard as he could, man. Mike Johnson tried as hard as he could, but even he knows it's over. Because eventually the House had to come back. And eventually he had to swear in Adelita Grijalva. She's the 218th signature. Done deal. As a matter of law, that petition shall come up for a vote on the full floor of the House of Representatives. And so now these Republican members are being put in the position of having to make a publicly recorded vote in favor of concealing what Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirators did. And with the document dump that we got last week, there are times when I wonder, is it possible that some Republicans in the House are just done with Trump? Because House Democrats last week released 3 emails. 3. And then immediately after that, House Republicans on the Oversight Committee released 20,000 pages of emails. 20,000 pages. Now, either they did not read them beforehand because Donald Trump's name appears in those 20,000 pages almost 2,000 times, more than any other person, or they did read those emails and said, I think it's time we put these out. I'm sick of this guy's bullshit. He makes my life difficult, and I'm tired of him making my life difficult because I get nothing in return except threats that he's going to primary me. Yeah, I think it's time that we release these. So it was either an incredible act of negligence on the part of James Comer and Republicans on the House Oversight Committee, or some Republicans got together behind the scenes and they were like, it's time. It's time to gently usher this fat bozo out the side door and kind of retake control of our party again. I think both things are equally true. But that vote is going to happen tomorrow. And from what I have seen being reported, it seems like there's a better than 50% chance that the margin of passage in the House of Representatives is going to be veto-proof. Meaning that if Donald Trump vetoes it, and think about that for a second. Think if the House and the Senate both vote overwhelmingly to release the Jeffrey Epstein files, and then Donald Trump vetoes it. The guy who his base thought was the hero who was going to uncover all of this stuff. And he's going to veto the bill? Is he really going to veto the bill? What are Trump's interactions with the press going to be like for the next year? I don't care what else he does. Mr. President, could you please explain your veto? That's all it's going to be. Republicans in the House and the Senate don't want that to be the next year of their interactions with the press and their interactions with their constituents either. Why are you covering up for pedophiles? But look at our economic plan. We don't care about that. Why are you covering up for pedophiles? This is the week that it all starts to unravel. Because thanks to Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna and the survivors who have spoken out, this is the week where the rubber hits the road with the discharge petition, and it cannot be stopped. This is the week that it all starts to unravel. And Donald Trump knows that, and that's why he put out that Truth Social post last night telling Republicans to vote in support of the discharge petition so that he can take credit for that vote. He wants credit for it.